And we're back. Episode 5 of the Wrong Fairway. Patty, Dylan, Josh, we made it. We did it. And boy, do we have a big week for our podcast, guys. We quadruple our listens, I think? We're up to 260 now? How freaking cool is that?
260, probably be 300 by the next recording.
You could fit as many listeners as we have onto a small bus.
Yeah, pretty big bus there, my guy.
All right, Patty joke.
Or at least an airplane. Think about that, actually.
Ooh, yeah.
Our listeners, if you subtract probably 40 of them, because that's us, could probably
just listening to it on loop.
Could fill a small airplane. That's pretty cool.
So where... All right, I guess that leads to the question then, where would we travel with all our listeners? Where would we go?
Royal Portrush.
Where?
I was thinking Tahoe.
Little Tahoe?
Up in the Tahoe area.
Little preview for next episode with our golf trip, but seamless transition right into how are your guys' last 2 weeks of golf?
I had a pretty good. It was only a week, I think, since our last recording, but I had 2 full rounds of 18. The first round that I played at, I remember, I think I texted you guys after the second or third hole. It was the round I played with 3 guys who live in Ireland 8 months out of the year. And I did not understand a single word that they said the entire round. I tried and I just couldn't.
What?
But they had really heavy accents. I just could not understand them at all.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't get it? I was messing with you. I wanted you to repeat that as many times as possible. Because I couldn't understand you. I don't even.
But yeah, it was a good round. The course was interesting. It's on the top of a mountain, and it's super, super dry, super, super hilly. So if you hit a ball just barely off the fairway, it just rolls for 50 yards off the fairway and onto into a ditch or something. So I think I lost 12 balls on the front 9, which is not super fun for me. So not my best round. I'll be the first to say it, but I did birdie my first ever par 5, which was pretty cool on the back 9. So feeling pretty good. It was a 3-wood, 5-iron onto the green with a 2-putt. Felt pretty freaking awesome.
It was pretty dope.
But Dill, how's your week?
Last week of golf hasn't really been too much for me. I haven't got a chance to get out and play. I had a pretty busy weekend. But I made it to the driving range yesterday and was able to work on some stuff. It was quite dark at the driving range, so I couldn't really see where a lot of my balls were landing, which is no fun.
Were you wearing shoes at your nighttime driving range session?
It was one time.
It was
2 times. It was 2 times.
2 times.
I already admitted that. All right, I'm sorry. I wear shoes now at the driving range.
I was wearing shoes, but just did not really have a good driving range session. By the end of my bucket, I was really rushing each ball just because I was trying to get as much daylight or lack thereof in as possible. So if I was hitting the longer clubs, and by longer I mean anything over a lob wedge, so basically everything, I couldn't see where the ball was landing. But it was a good session, but I need to get out there when it's not pitch black.
Yeah, fair. For sure. Josh, what do you got?
So Friday I golfed with my dad and these 2 guys who were great to golf with. They were super upbeat. They weren't great golfers. I think me and my dad were better than them. But they just were having fun. They were hitting balls. They were just having a great time on the course. And I played well. I did not putt, and my short game, like always, was just terrible. I did see some improvement. So the shots I actually was hitting, they were, seemed smooth. The club was doing all the work, and I really was hitting good shots. And then today, actually, I just got back about 2.5 hours ago. I golfed with my uncle, Richard Kind, for those older listeners, as well as my brother. And I played a tremendous round. The score wasn't there, but that can be attributed to 3 blow-up holes.
Ooh.
On the back 9.
Double bogeys.
Ooh. On the back 9.
Ooh.
I 7 on a par 3, I 9'd on a par 4, and then I think I 8'd on a par 4. Back to back to back, just some sort of funk. I did walk, so maybe there was some fatigue there, but I came around and bogeyed in par the last 2, so maybe it was just I couldn't see the end, and then when I could. but it's
Yeah.
very similar. My average putt was a 1.9, which was
There you go. That's
was
awesome.
super good, and I think I've definitely seen putting improve because I think the first session I was 3-putting like 9 times around.
Nice.
So yeah, so a solid week for me.
Yeah, that's real solid. So I think part of our podcast is us trying to like hold ourselves accountable to get better. And so like Josh, like what was your score? What'd you shoot?
Today,
I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours.
I shot a 102 today.
Nice.
Ain't bad.
Yeah, I had that rough round Friday. I shot a 107, which was less than ideal. And then I golfed with Coop and Ian Sunday afternoon at like 2 p.m. we walked, and I think I shot like a 94, which was a little less than ideal. I had a couple of blow poles in there, but I'm definitely getting there. I'd say my good shot for the last week would be that par 5 that I birdied. It was a 5-iron. I was 210 out, and I hit the 5-iron like just on the edge of the green, and it could not have been better for me, at least. Like that's like the perfect shot, hitting a green from that far. But my bad shot. So it was on hole 5, I think, on Sunday, and at this point, I had already finished 2 tall boys of Coors Banquet, so I was feeling awesome. I was feeling really, really good. And I'm set up. I hit a pretty poor tee shot, so I have to like hit 3-wood and then probably like a lob wedge into the green on the par 4. And I'm sitting there and I have to like kind of cut the corner, and Ian is like maybe like 60 degrees to my right, like 10 feet away. Like no shot I hit him, right? Well, I hit it perfectly off the edge of the 3-wood right into his bag.
Oh my
and just drilled
God.
his bag.
Oh, he was probably not happy.
Oh no.
It was the loudest like smack I think I've ever heard. I felt so bad. That was bad. That was my big blow up hole of the day. I think I had like 6 shots to just get on the green, and I 3-putted.
Yikes.
Ian turned around right after that and just teed one up right at you, didn't he?
My dad almost took my head off, and I literally ducked, and it went right over my head. Like he could have been aiming for me, and I was like about 45 degrees off of him.
Have you guys ever been hit by a ball out on the course?
No, actually.
I have not. I have come dangerously close to hitting a few people, including that was actually a similar bad shot I had. I teed one ball off into the forest, so I teed off again. This was a par 3 Friday, and my second one I just like hit it. Literally, there's like 2 greens right there. It hits the cart path and bounces up and hits like the back of our own cart, and there were like guys just like on the other side of the cart path that were like teeing off the other way, and I was just like, well, I'm picking that ball up and I guess dropping up there, because I just almost wrecked them. And then about a year ago, actually last summer, I par 3 went a little to the left.
Okay.
2 guys were sitting in their carts. I hit the top of their cart. Why they were in it? Yeah, like I've gotten dangerously close to hitting a few people. I don't think short of Friday, but that was.
Yeah, Coop and I have a running joke going where at least once a round I come dangerously close to hitting people, and that was true, I'd say, for the first like year and a half of golfing. Just the green's right there. Oh, there's people 50 yards to the right. Let me just bloop every single time, and it was bad, especially back when I was hitting driver all the time. That slice onto other fairways was such a problem for me. I don't think I ever came too close when I was playing with you guys out in Jersey, but something about playing out here, I come very, very close to hitting people. My mom got hit actually one time when I was playing with her. It was this, we're playing like a dinky little par 3 course, and this guy's like on a tee box, like kind of coming back towards us, like the green is off to our right, the fairway's off to our right, and he hits it. One hops, hits my mom in the leg. He doesn't say a word and just tees off again and shanks it also over our heads.
Oh my God.
Had a little bit of a yelling match going on, but not ideal at all.
We almost got hit, and we actually almost got an altercation. My friend called me down. I was like, okay, it's your fault. You almost hit us. It's not our fault for standing in our own tee box, getting ready to tee off. Like mid backswing, a ball literally comes right through the blue tee box. I'm just like, come on, guy. And he had his kid in his car, and his kid wasn't even playing. And he was trying to get in our face and say it was our fault for being there. I was like, no. It's your fault. You did it over here.
The closest I've ever come to hitting people and I'm sure there's been one closer to this, but the one that I can remember the most vividly is I was in a bunker, a fairway bunker, trying to get onto the green. It was close enough to where I pulled out probably my gap wedge and thought that I could get it on the green with the gap wedge, but I must have caught the sand, hit it a little fat or something like that, and it sliced. And there were people waiting for the next hole, not even on the tee box. They weren't getting ready to tee off because there was a little bit of a backup on the short par 3. And the ball bounced off of like a tree and literally came within 1 foot of just knocking a guy right on the noggin. So I know like getting hit by a golf ball is definitely bad in any way, but hitting someone right on the head is not a place that I want to be. But that's the closest I've ever came to hitting somebody, thankfully.
Mm-hmm. And have you guys ever heard, people are 200, 300 out, and it's like, you're okay to drive, you're not going to reach them. And you're like, no, I have to wait because if I drive now, I'm going to hit them. How often have you, driven because someone's actually said that, like, oh, you're not going to reach them, and you do, / have actually hit into people before? Because I've done that a few times, and I'm like, you told me I should go, and I went.
Yeah, so I was golfing with Coop. This was like a month into us picking up golf. So I'm playing with the golf clubs that you're playing with now, Josh. And it was a par 4, and this was the only course we'd played up to this point. We played it like 6 times. And I think I was like 180-ish out, and like my biggest club in that bag was a 6-iron or driver. So I was like, oh, cool, like I'm fine to hit 6-iron here. Like I had never hit a ball, I think, over 150 yards that wasn't with a driver with a 50-yard slice. Like I just hadn't made good contact once. And I was like, oh, cool, like I'll hit a 6-iron, it'll probably roll up there like 40 yards short and I'll be fine. And I think to this day, that's my best shot I've ever hit. It was just absolutely perfect. And I felt so bad because Coop and I are wearing like our like crappy like Stevens Athletic shirts and like not at all looking like golfers, dragging around our crappy bags that we bought on eBay. And I just hit it at this guy, and he just turns around and puts his arms up in the air like a ref signaling a field goal was good, and just stares at me for like a solid 30 seconds. And I was just like, hey, sorry. And I like waved at him, and he just shook his head and walked off the green and picked up his ball. And I was like, oh, no. That was pretty mortifying, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I feel like, playing Saturday, Sunday rounds, everything always gets backed up. So you always find yourself in the position to make that decision. Like, do I want to hit this or do I want to not? Usually the way I try to counteract it is like teeing off last, because it usually takes 2-3 minutes for people to tee off fully with all their stuff happening, if not more than that. So I try to tee off last because usually you're playing with people who aren't as young and athletic as us, and usually don't hit it that far. The other thing is, if people always ask me, they're like, oh, you're gonna hit? I usually just wait anyway, because I know pace of play is a really important thing, but if we're backed up against these people every single hole and we find ourselves asking this 3 holes in a row or more, where it's like, oh, you're going to hit? No, I don't want to hit him. I'm just like, why don't we give them an extra 5 minutes where we can sit here and wait so that we're not backed up every single time and have to ask this question? But so I have not hit anybody yet, so let's hope I continue that streak.
Yeah, and I find a lot of this is actually on par 5s. They have generally the most ability for me to hit someone, because that second shot with the long iron is definitely capable of creeping up to the green. Like Patty, you mentioned, you hit it with the 5-iron. What if there were guys that were a little bit out and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to float this, 180, 190, but it actually does roll up onto the green. You don't want that. And just a little disclaimer to everybody out there: you should wait until you make sure you're not going to hit up on people. That is one of the most annoying things. Is when you get hit up on, and it's an absolute pet peeve of mine. We spoke last week about that. Just definitely don't hit up on people. I know I have in the past, but I haven't really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, even this last weekend with Coopanian on Sunday, the group behind us kept hitting into us, and at one point, like we were like crossing paths because our tee box was like about halfway up the fairway that they were at, and we like walked past, and we said like, "Hey, like you're gonna have to wait anyway. Just like, just wait at the tee box. Don't wait, like like just don't hit at people. It's so dumb. You're gonna have to wait anyway. Kind of like you said, Dylan. Like." There's no point. Like you're not gonna make them golf any faster. They're waiting on people too. Like just don't hit it.
Exactly.
I don't know. That's
At that
I was getting pretty pissed.
At that point, you go step on their ball and plug it super super hard into the dirt, or just pick it up.
No, I don't like that. I like plunge it into the dirt because then when they pick it out, it kind of shows that they're like, oh, I'm just gonna remove the ball from this divot, even though it was you that made the divot. But actually, you can go ahead.
Real quick on holes 16, 17, and 18 at our course we played at, they're all like kind of circling this lake, and we all agreed in our group like, all right, if they hit into us, ball's going in the lake. I don't care, like just it's going in the lake. We're either going to chip it or throw it in the lake, although chipping goes farther as we've determined.
And actually, about like pace of play, we actually had these 3 older gentlemen today. They were on cars, we were walking, so we're just like, It was hole 9. We were rounding a turn, but we just let them. There were 3 old guys in carts.
Oh, your uncle being one of them?
No, my uncle being walking with us, me and my brother.
So there was 5 people in your
No,
group?
they were behind us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
got
and
it.
we
Sorry.
let them play through while we round the turn, which is a good segue. Let's do that right now. What questions do we have today?
Woo! That
was
a good one. I
a
like
hashtag not seamless transition.
It was
No,
not so.
seamless.
It was
I thought that was
seamlessly not seamless.
But okay,
And now
anyway.
it has become not seamless. Thank you, Dylan.
Now it's
We're
the
rounding the
opposite of
turn,
seamless.
Dylan. You're gonna ask the first question.
It's a seamed transition.
Yeah, we'll cut all that in post. Don't worry.
No, we won't.
Yeah, but that's the
This
fun of
is
it.
one of our better transitions. Come on now.
Well, now it's not.
This transition's a little odd, but that is a good segue into my next question. Is
You rode around on a Segway on the golf course? That's amazing.
I'm gonna hang up now.
Please.
So everybody knows you get 14 clubs in the bag. My question is to you guys: if you arrange those clubs from lowest loft to highest loft, so let's say putter starts at 1, then you go driver 2, all the way down the line to your lob wedge being your last club, right, all the way up to 14. Do you think you'd play a better round with the even numbered clubs or the odd numbered clubs?
So, I think for me at least, it'd definitely be odd numbered clubs, which would be like the important clubs being putter, 3-wood, 7-iron, 9, and gap wedge. Those are like mostly my most comfortable clubs. Like those are my favorite clubs to hit. And so for me, definitely that'd be by far the best. And I think there's not that much of a difference between all of those like club selections except for the putter. And I think that's where you would gain a lot of those strokes.
So I'm going to be a touch difficult just because I legitimately think I hit even clubs better. For one, I can actually hit a driver in this group. I think my allegedly great hitting a 6, great hitting an 8. And then I think once you get to past pitching wedge, I'm definitely really good with a pitching wedge. Decent swing. And then I think I'd be a 52, 56. One of the two of those. I don't know when you get into the gap wedge. And I think I'd get a 60 as well. And as much as, I need a putter, I would still get a 2-iron that I actually do carry around in my bag.
Have you ever hit it the 2-iron?
Yeah. That's it.
Like off the tee?
Not off the tee. If I'm in like the bushes or something, I'll hit the 2-iron. As like
it's your punch.
It's my punch out club. Yeah.
Okay.
And
you've never like full swing 2-iron though.
I have because I didn't have my 3 hybrid in the car, but I have hit it from over 200, and it's basically hitting a 4-iron because it's old. But that's where I land on that. Yeah, having a putter is important, but I feel like a 2-iron is decently similar.
So the one thing that I, having putted an entire round with my 3-iron, having to putt with such a long shafted club is definitely no fun. It's like you feel like you're a mile away from the ball, and the stroke is so different. It's not like a rock in the shoulders kind of. It's not like you're standing right over your ball and can see your line. It's more like you have to squat down a little bit and do like a little bit of a rotation. I'm definitely describing this horribly, but you do a little bit of a rotation, and there's no sweet spot on like a 3-iron, because there's a sweet spot when you're swinging full speed. There's not one when you're putting. So I found when I did the round, when I had to play and putt with the 3-iron, that I thought I was lining it up really well, and then I would go and do literally just try to tap it, and I would toe the ball and it would go completely right. So I gotta have the putter in my bag if I'm playing with just the odd numbered clubs. And I think that I think the question also kind of chalks up to, are you more comfortable over swinging, or are you more comfortable under swinging? And I think with the odd numbered clubs, I'd be a little more comfortable with those.
So
Would that be an underswing, Dylan? Sorry. With the odd number clubs being underswing?
So let's say
odd number would be, I think it'd be an over, because you're losing driver and 4-iron, which are are longer than 3 wood and 5, right? So like it'd be more over swings, but like I don't think it would really affect you that.
Yeah,
much.
I don't understand the overswing concept, but continue, Patty. Sorry.
Follow-up question to that, Dill, and this does not count as my question. If you had to get rid of some clubs from your bag, how many and which clubs do you think you could get rid of before your game like drastically drops off?
See, so I would say out of the 14 clubs in the bag, I'd say I could get rid of 4 clubs. Just okay. Easy. I think I could get rid of my driver. Truly, I could get rid of it. I've been hitting a lot more with it recently, but I've found that my 3-wood's a great replacement, and it goes straighter, and it's a little more consistent for me. I could get rid of my 5-iron. I have hit that once in the past 6 months, so don't even know why I got it in the bag. My 9-iron I could definitely get rid of. My sand wedge I could get rid of, and that makes 4 clubs right there. Just because when faced with like a tough situation that I may need a sand wedge for, I usually find myself reaching for my lob wedge anyway, just because I find myself a lot more comfortable with the loft. So I think I can get 4 out of there, just because based on my experience, I don't need those, but I bet I could push it if I really needed to get rid of some.
Okay, I kind of going top to bottom. I could definitely get rid of driver. I haven't used it on the course in a couple months now. Just the 3-wood's been so much more consistent for me, and it goes far enough to where I'm never like needing to hit 3-wood twice on a par 4, so I'm usually fine. So driver could go. I'd say probably my 4-iron can go. I like it, but again, 3-wood and 5-iron kind of like are enough for me from that distance. And then as far as wedges go, I think I'd want to keep my gap wedge and my 56. So I could get rid of my pitching wedge, my 52, and my 60. Just because, like, I use the 52 for, like, chipping around the green, 56 out of the sand, and 60, like, just when I need it to get, like, high up. And, like, honestly, a 56 can kind of cover all those bases well enough, you know? Like, you don't need all those wedges for me. So I think that's, 4 or 5 clubs that I could get rid of, and I think I'd be mostly found. Like, yeah, you might get an awkward distance once or twice, but I think for the most part it'd be just fine.
And I think, Patty, to counteract that awkward distance, because I actually needed an extra minute to think about this one, and I think I could probably get rid of about half of them, so about 7.
Really?
Yeah, because driver can go. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Driver is the only long club I need up to about a 6-iron. Just because in theory I could use a 6-iron on the long par 3s, get up there. So driver 6. Sticking with the last question, if I have a 6, I might as well go 8 in pitching wedge. Okay. And that's 4 right there, and then probably the sand wedge too. So that's about 5, and and I think that's all I really need. I mean, it'd be a very cut and dry round, and hopefully everything I can hit is straight, because it's those middle distances like you said. If you're at 170 versus 160, it's going to be a a 7-iron versus an 8-iron. And
my main worry for you then would be like the 200 plus yard shots. You know what I mean? Like that, I think, is where you'd get in trouble with that, because you're going driver to 6-iron as your jump, right?
yeah.
I think, because what do you hit your 6-iron? Probably like 180 if I had to
180,
guess.
185, yeah.
Yeah, like I think you might be in trouble there if you get kind of those longer distances.
I mean, you think about a par 5, 500. Driver, let's say it's a bad drive and it goes 150, 200. Well, then I'm still at 380, so then I'm at 110 to get to the green. So instead of
fair. Yeah.
I'm maybe not gonna be able to birdie it like you said you did this weekend, and just hitting your 5-iron, 200, or however far you hit it. But I think in this hypothetical that I could really only need about 5 clubs before I really start to see my score go down.
I think
Interesting.
I think the next round we all play full round, and even when we have our trip, we should kind of keep note of those clubs that we don't use, because I think that would be a really interesting concept.
So today it was actually interesting that you posed this question, because today I really found I was using all my clubs. Just in how the course was, my uncle knew the course pretty well, so he was able to tell me, you need to hit the ball 170, and then you need to hit the ball 150, because it was like a 90-degree dog leg to the left.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing those distances, and then par 3s today, there was like a 180, a 170, a 200. So it wasn't like they were all 180, and you could just get away with using your 6 each time. I feel like those irons really, especially when you pinpoint distances, come in handy a lot. And yeah, the greens are 30 feet, 30 yards long. So you can get away with, being 10 yards short, 10 yards long of it. But
So that's a big ass green.
Maybe 30 feet.
Wing foot greens.
Are the markers in yardages or feet?
Yards.
They're in yards. Okay, so maybe okay. Yeah, that makes sense. 30 feet.
So it's also kind of funny we brought this up too, because the clubs that I've been playing with, as you all have known, shout out to our listeners from the beginning who know that I play with Amazon clubs.
Thanks.
Thanks, Frenzel. I'll get you a new set.
No, you won't. Come on now.
No, you will not.
It costs $150. I can get Frenzel a new set of clubs. I practically used them to literally completion, basically, or to breakage. Like, okay.
Oh man!
Hey, thanks, Frenzel.
Try that again.
Shout out to Frenzel. I practically use his clubs to breaking them. So my 7-iron, 8-iron, and now almost my 6-iron too. The 7 and 8, anytime you hit a ball, the club head will literally rotate about 90 degrees so I can't.
What?
So it's so loose.
So they're broken.
They are broken.
Like they're done.
Yes.
They're finished.
I can pull off a shot maybe here or there if I really need those clubs, but the past 2 or 3 rounds that I've been playing, I have not been able to use my 7 and haven't been able to use my 8. Coincidentally, I haven't really found myself in those distances where I needed to use them. I've been maybe I've been substituting my 6-iron. I've been feeling pretty comfortable with it, and my gap wedge and 9-iron have also been doing a good job at those 8-iron distances. But I haven't been able to use those 2 clubs, so they could also be out of the bag if I needed.
Dang. So for the trip, I guess you need to borrow some clubs for sure then. Yeah. Like you might as well not even ship those if they're that messed up.
Yeah, I don't think if Coop and you guys, or I think Coop said I'd be able to borrow maybe some buddy clubs.
Well, I know he still has his starter set, which like at a minimum you'd be able to bring it on the course.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They don't be like, hey, you need to bring clubs, and then you can just use like mine or Coop's. Probably mine actually, because mine are super similar to the ones that you just bought.
Okay, heck yeah.
And then Josh, are you planning on bringing yours or? What's your plan?
think so. I don't know. I was gonna kind of figure that out whenever I actually book my flight and see if I can get a carry on. I was thinking if I do, I have the carrying suitcase for golf clubs. That I was basically gonna pack as my normal suitcase, and like kind of wrap the heads.
Oh.
But if all of a sudden I find it's really heavy, or it's all of a sudden an extra $200, then I might try to outsource someone in Northern California who might be able to meet up with you guys and drop a pair off. I'm thinking if Ian has a set of old clubs I could use for the weekend. We'll
figure something out. I know Coop's roommate just bought like some starter set clubs,
nice.
so maybe
maybe
we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Even if you have like my grandma's old clubs just to bring out there,
seriously,
and then you just use minor Coops, like it'll
maybe fine. Put my putter in my carry-on, which they probably won't let on the plane. If I'm actually thinking about that. Yeah, they won't.
Absolutely not.
Anywho,
I'm just going to bring this blunt object on the plane. Oh, believe me, I'm not going to use it.
Well, in Wisconsin, they took my roller for my quads because they said it was a weapon. I was like, how the heck is this a weapon?
Is that also the same time that you walked through airport security with scissors in your backpack?
I did. We're going to need to cut this because I do not want TSA on my ass.
I don't think TSA is A, listening to this podcast, and B, I don't think they're gonna come after you for accidentally having scissors in your backpack.
I don't know. NASA might, MSNBC, who knows?
MSNBC.
Who do you think is listening to this podcast?
I think the
NASA
TSA makes up.
MSNBC.
I think the TSA makes up 220 of our 250 podcast listens. I think it's somebody's job at the TSA to exclusively listen to our podcast. Shout out to the TSA agent who's listening right now.
TSA, sponsor us.
Please, I need pre-flight check, please.
Speaking of sponsorships, we have nothing in the books. Anyway, my question, my question for the week, is. All right, so we've been doing this for a little over a month now. What has been the change in your game that's like led to the biggest jump in improvement? Like what's the one thing that you're just like, oh, that made me better? And like kind of like how did it make you better?
So it's gonna sound pretty obvious and kind of funny when I say it, but getting off the tee. I found that my tee shots improved quite well, which I hope that when we go on our golf trip that they are as good as I hope they are. But I found that when I even just end up in the fairway, even if it's not super far, but anything that's 200 plus yards, it just makes that second shot so much easier. And I don't have to deal with trees like in the right rough or losing balls or this or that. But I found that my tee shots have gotten a lot better, and it's allowed me to be a little more creative on that second shot. So I've definitely been getting better when I've noticed the tee shots are better.
Nice. Yeah. Josh, what about you?
I think my putting has definitely been the thing that's improved the most over these last however many weeks we've been recording. I used to be 3-putting all the time, and now I can today I averaged 1.9 putts per hole, which is super.
Yeah.
I was being really aggressive, and also playing the course. I'm able to be more aggressive on my around the green chip shots, and just getting that closer to the hole. So it's possibly a gimme putt. It's an makeable 1 putt that I actually have been able to make, and that's helping my short game a lot, because my irons are going to come and go. You know, they go the distance, but they're a little bit to the right. I aim, I just miss it to the left of the green, so I have to have that green side chip shot. So that's basically where I've seen the most improvement. Everything else has fluctuated as I feel it should, because I'm not a good golfer yet. But
yeah, what about you, Patty?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me actually was I went, and this was at like one of the lessons that I had, which have been awesome. They're like 30 minutes tops, but he gave me a drill and just kind of like something to think about that translated really well. Do you guys remember like in lifts when we would take a medicine ball and you'd line up so your shoulders are perpendicular to a wall, and you'd throw the medicine ball as hard as you could into the wall? It was like an oblique workout. Right?
Yes.
Do you guys remember those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he has me basically he wants my swing. He wants me to think about that exercise where you're sitting there, you're holding it straight armed, a ball like a yoga ball, straight armed in front of you, and then you twist and throw it as hard as you can to your left. And then basically when you swing is you hold the club and you do that same motion, and that's like drastically improved my consistency with how I'm striking the ball. Like that's been huge for me because it helps me keep that front arm straight too. And so that's really really helped my score, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely the big one for me.
I've definitely noticed that when I go to the driving range and really focus on doing a drill, because I think a lot of people have the tendency to go to the driving range and they just pull out their clubs, and if they start slicing it, they're just like, well, I'll switch it to a different club, or they don't really look at the why. And so I took a look at my swing on video and kind of noticed and talked to some friends that I had played some rounds with, and they confirmed what I thought was true, that I basically swing outside to inside every single time I hit, no matter what club it is. And that's causing one of the bigger, my big slice, especially on the longer and faster swinging clubs. A lot of my lower end clubs are like high loft clubs. I can usually manage, there's no slice at all. But what I did and started doing, pretty common drill that a lot of people recommend, is putting a head cover down on the outside path of your swing, so that if you hit it, you know you're coming outside to inside. And it really, really forced me, especially with my driver and my 3-wood, which have a tendency to come outside to inside as much as possible. It really forced me to straighten out that swing pattern and make sure that I'm hitting the ball the right way. So when I find that I do that at the driving range, my rounds end up being a lot better, and I can hit my tee shots a lot straighter.
Yeah, definitely. Just doing drills in general. Like imagine like volleyball. If we never did drills, we would suck. Like there's no, I don't think there's any question about that. If we just went and tried to play games every single day, we never would really like gotten better. So like taking it serious like that definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely something that I need to do more of. This winter is kind of do some of these backyard drills. And one thing actually, my uncle gave me a good tip today about my wrist, because I find when I have weaker wrists, that's when I'm kind of starting to not get aim. I'm starting to miss left and I'm starting to miss right. Is that your front wrist is kind of the club face. And if it's kind of comes through with your wrist in front of your hand, it's going to go right. And if it's kind of behind your hand, it's going to go left, because you're opening and closing the club.
Yeah.
And your right hand is for the path of the club.
Wait, so let's go back to the left hand really quick before you go. So put your palm down to the ground. When you say your hand is in front of your wrist, is that up or down, or like what orientation?
It's your palm being bent more towards your forearm.
Okay.
In the swing.
Okay.
Would be the one that pushes it right and slices.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure, because when I first did that, when I first visualized that, I was like, wait a second. Okay, but go on.
Like think about like your with your club on the ground. If you just take your hand forward, it's just gonna go left. And if you kind of open the club face, what your wrist, what your hand is actually doing.
Perfect. I'm just making sure our TSA agent knows what's up.
Exactly. And then with the backswing and the right to left, I feel like my line is good, but I've noticed that a lot of my irons do go straight and then start to tail either way, just based off. And I just thought that was both my wrists, but now I realize it's more so my left wrist. So I got to do some wrist exercises.
Yeah, gotta get those wrists strong.
Yep.
What is that, Josh? Did you ask your question already this week, or are you up?
I did not know. We were talking a little bit about clubs earlier, and the one today I mentioned a lot today that I really love the even number clubs, and Patty mentioned where did your score come down, but something I've really noticed is that my 6-iron I have just been able to hit really well, really straight. And it's got to be my favorite club now, which is, I think, a little bit why I said even. And so my question to you this week, pretty easy, pretty simple. What is your favorite club?
This is probably the easiest question. that you've ever asked me. My favorite club has got to be by far my 60-degree wedge. It's the club that when for our listeners at home who don't know, basically my first set of golf clubs before I even picked up my really shitty Frenzel clubs, shout out to Frenzel, were Josh's uncles that he played with today. Thank you, Richard. But in that bag, I just happened to be bestowed with a really nice Cleveland 60-degree wedge that I kind of feel bad about for taking from Josh.
I love that club.
I feel really bad about taking from Josh.
I thought I had a 60 for the longest time, and I thought it was a 52 that my brother took from me. And I remembered that I always used to like have this 60, and I never knew when to use it. You have it, don't you?
Yeah, I've told you this so many times before that it's.
Oh, I thought you bought a 60 when you bought like all your wedges.
No. I have never bought any clubs ever, other than the ones that I just got fitted for. But see, so
other than the ones that I just spent a bunch of money on.
So let's just say any club that I'm playing with now, I have never purchased. And it's funny because every time we would go out, I always knew that it was like. It was your uncle's club, which basically meant it was your club. And I always wanted to like go up to you and be like, hey, this is your uncle's club. Do you want this? Because I know you didn't have a 60. You were always playing with your sandwich. Except it's my favorite club. So I never wanted to say like, here, take my favorite club out of this freaking bag. But yeah, it is my favorite club. I've just found it's so easy for me to use. I think just because when I started using my wedges, it was probably the first wedge I ever used. I used it as a sand wedge. I used it as a gap wedge. I used it for everything. And so I've just gotten so comfortable with it. And now in my backyard, I find myself being able to hit a lot more flop shots on command. So much so that one of the more recent rounds that I played with, I took the 60 out. It was a really unlikely lob shot. I was right in front of the tee box. I had to do a really, really quick shot. Basically on the hole, I sliced way right onto somebody else's fairway into a hole onto the wrong fairway.
He said it.
So I sliced into someone's wrong fairway. My second shot hit it.
Wrong fairway.
Sliced into still basically the wrong fairway. And I had to flop shot over the tree to get it onto the green. And the guys were waiting to tee off, and they were really nice about it. And I said, watch this. I hope it works. Did not expect it to work. But I got under the ball with the 60-degree wedge, opened my stance up, and landed it perfectly on the green. So I was really proud of that. And I found that I can hit just about any shot I really need to at that club now. So 60-degree wedge, definitely my favorite club. Thanks for listening to me ramble, everybody.
That specific 60-degree wedge is what convinced me to buy my wedges. I don't know if you remember the round. I think it was all three of us playing together, and it was like an uphill par 4 or 5. And I was like, I needed to go over a bunker, and I was like, I don't really want to hit pitching wedge here. And Dylan, you're like, just try this 60-degree. And just an awesome freaking shot that I've hit. I was so happy with it. So tough for me not to say 60-degree here, because that's like my favorite club in terms of like having fun and doing like cool shots. Like I love hitting the 60-degree.
Gotcha.
But the club that I'm best with, I'd say kind of fluctuates between my 3-wood, which has just kind of been like my bread and butter recently. Although this last weekend I hit a lot of shanks with it, so who knows. But my gap wedge is just my favorite club in that ping set that I got. It's just 100. I'll hit it from 100 to 135, and it's just I just have it dialed in. I don't hit it like to the right or left pretty much consistently. Josh, what about you, buddy? I'm guessing driver?
Oh no, 6-iron.
You said that. Yeah.
Because a lot of times I just find par 3s, even if they're like 210, I can just hit the 6 and then I'm like 30 yards out, and then kind of like having one of those aggressive chip shots. And whenever I'm at 180, there's always like an issue, and a lot of the par 3s I played this summer just happen to be 180, and I just kind of plop, just kind of on the green. I mean, like driver, I have a lot of fun with, because starting to be able. There was a nice little dog leg right. I think it was like hole 2 or 3 today, and I remember I just kind of moved my back foot just back a little bit, and I rotated my wrists out just that little bit, and I got some like just like natural like right hook, and I was going left today, and I closed it a little bit, and it ball still went straight, but it definitely did have some left on the dogleg left.
That definitely. I need to get better with my 6-iron, but I hope.
No, with my driver.
Oh, well, I
The
need to get
six
better.
iron,
At
I
my
can't
six-
do that. 6-iron just goes straight every time.
You big dummy,
I
Bill.
am
Come
a
on.
big dummy.
Pay
But,
attention.
hopefully we can.
But you're-
Hopefully we can drive all the way back to the clubhouse because we're gonna wrap it up for this episode. I just wanted to say to the 250 people, or hopefully more by the time that this episode gets released. We truly, me, Josh, Patty, just want to say thank you. We're really appreciative. We kind of started this thing as a little bit of a joke, and just to kind of get to know each other better during quarantine, and just have a good time with the guys, and just having you guys along for the ride is great. So we want to say thank you, and you can follow us on Twitter at WrongFairways with an S at the end. But other than that, boys, remember to wear shoes at the driving range, and we'll see you next time on The Wrong Fairway.
Hell yeah, buddy.